This Roblox player heard knocking in his bedroom wall every night for 6 weeks. His parents said it was the pipes. They said it was the wind. What was actually behind that wall is a story you need to hear. Mason was 12 years old and he lived in the second-floor bedroom of a small duplex on Elm Street. He played Roblox for 2 hours every night after dinner with his friends from school. His bedroom had a sloped ceiling on one side because the room was built into the upper attic space. There was a low wooden wall on that side that his father called a knee wall. Behind that knee wall was a narrow crawl space that ran along the entire length of the duplex. His father had told him the crawl space was empty except for some old insulation and pipes. The first time Mason heard the knocking was on a Tuesday night in the middle of October. He was in the middle of a Roblox round when he heard 3 soft taps from inside the wall. He took off his headphones. He sat very still on his bed. He listened for almost 2 minutes. The knocking did not come back that night. Mason told himself it was probably the heating pipes. But 2 nights later, on a Thursday around 11 at night, he heard the same 3 taps again. This time the taps were slower, almost like somebody was being careful not to be too loud. Mason went downstairs and told his mother and father what he had been hearing for 2 nights. His mother said it was probably the radiator settling. His father said it might be a small animal. They told him to go back to bed and not to worry about it for the rest of the week. Over the next 2 weeks, the knocking happened every single night between 10 and midnight without fail. The pattern was always 3 taps, sometimes slow, sometimes faster. Always 3, never 2, and never 4. Mason started writing down the times in a small notebook he kept under his pillow at night. His father went into the crawl space one Saturday afternoon to look around with a small flashlight. He came back 20 minutes later and said he had not found anything except dust and pipes. He told Mason the crawl space was sealed off from the neighbor's side by an old wooden panel. What Mason's father had not noticed in that crawl space was the part of this story nobody could have prepared for. Mason started knocking back, 3 taps with his knuckle against the wooden knee wall in his bedroom. The first night he did this, there was a long pause from the other side, maybe 10 seconds. Then 3 taps came back. Same rhythm, same volume, same careful spacing as before. Mason did not tell his parents about this. He did not tell anyone at school either. He spent the next week tapping different rhythms each night and writing down what came back. The rhythms always matched, always exactly. Whatever was on the other side could hear him perfectly. On the 3rd week, Mason did something he had not done before. He spoke to the wall in a whisper. He said, "Are you a person?" He waited. He held his breath. He counted to 30 in his head. 2 taps came back, quick and clear. 2 taps for yes. Like a child who had agreed on a code, Mason did not move from his bed for almost 10 minutes. His heart was beating very fast that night. He whispered the next question. "Are you hurt?" 3 taps came back, slow, heavy, almost reluctant. Mason whispered one more thing. "Should I tell somebody?" There was a long silence on the other side. Then 5 taps came back fast, then 5 again. The same 5 taps over and over for almost a minute. He sat against the knee wall with his back pressed to the wood. He could hear breathing, quiet, even. It was not the breathing of an adult. It was the breathing of somebody much smaller than him. The next morning, Mason logged onto his Roblox account from his school's library before first period. He searched for a neighbor named Elliot, who was 9 and lived in the other half of the duplex. Elliot had not been at the bus stop for at least the last 3 weeks. Mason had assumed he was sick. But Elliot's Roblox account was still active. The login showed 3 in the morning the night before. That was the same hour Mason had been tapping rhythms against the wall in his bedroom. What Mason figured out that morning in the school library is something every parent watching this needs to hear. That night, Mason did not turn on his Roblox game when he got home from school after dinner. He sat against the knee wall and he whispered one new word into the gap between the panels. He whispered, "Elliot." There was no sound from the other side for almost a full minute. Then 4 taps came back fast. Then 4 more. Then 4 more again. like a small child crying out. Mason understood he was talking to a 9-year-old who had been hiding behind his bedroom wall. He understood Elliot had been getting into the crawl space from his own side of the duplex. He understood Elliot had been sleeping in that crawl space some nights for almost 6 weeks now. Mason did the bravest thing a 12-year-old can do at 11 o'clock on a school night. He walked downstairs and he handed his father his small notebook with all the rhythms written down. He said, "There is a boy named Elliot living in the wall, and I think his stepfather hits him." His father did not yell at him. His father did not tell him to go back to bed. His father read the notebook. His father called 911. His father called the local police station. The police came within 15 minutes of that phone call, on that Wednesday night in late November. They went up into Mason's bedroom. They opened the wooden hatch into the crawl space very carefully. What the officers found inside that narrow attic space changed everything Mason had been taught about being scared. They found a 9-year-old boy curled up against the dust on a folded blanket near the panel. Elliot was wearing the same clothes he had worn to school 3 weeks earlier. He had no shoes on. He had a backpack with one apple and a school library book and a phone with the battery dead. Elliot had been getting into the crawl space through a loose vent in his own bedroom closet at night. He had started doing it the first week of October, on the night his mother left for good. His stepfather had been the only adult in the house since then. The reason Elliot was hiding was simple. The crawl space was the only place in either house where the stepfather could not reach him at night. It was the only place in the entire neighborhood where Elliot felt his body could rest without fear. Researchers who study trauma in children describe this as a survival behavior with a clear pattern. The mind finds a place it can feel safe. Sometimes the place is internal, sometimes the place is physical. Some children find that place in books, in video games, or in friendships nobody else knows about. But some children, when nothing else is available, find a real physical place that nobody else knows. For Elliot, that place had been a dusty crawl space behind a knee wall in his neighbor's bedroom. The only reason he was not still there hiding tonight was because another 12-year-old had been listening. Elliot was taken into protective custody by Child Services that same night in the back of a quiet car. His stepfather was arrested by morning on 3 counts of child endangerment and 1 count of physical abuse. Elliot's biological mother turned out to be in a rehabilitation facility 300 miles away from the duplex. She had left a written request with social services 6 weeks earlier, asking for custody to be reviewed. Nobody at Child Services had read her letter yet. Nobody had checked on Elliot in over 4 months. Mason's parents asked the social worker if Elliot could stay with them while the case was being worked out. The social worker said yes. Neighbor and kinship placement is always preferred over an unknown foster home. Elliot moved into the small guest bedroom in Mason's house on the night before Thanksgiving that November. He had been in therapy at a children's trauma clinic twice a week for almost 3 months by Christmas. He started talking again, slowly. Then he started laughing again. Then he started playing Roblox with Mason every evening. By the end of January, Mason and Elliot had built a fort together in their shared backyard in the snow. It was not a perfect ending. Elliot still woke up some nights and needed the bedroom light left on. But here is what nobody at the duplex had understood until that Wednesday night in late November. Children who are being hurt almost never say it out loud. They almost never write it in a letter. They tap on walls. They draw the same picture twice in a row. They start sleeping in unusual places. Most of the time, the strange and quiet thing is the only way that child knows how to ask for help. And most of the time, the only person paying attention is another child who has not yet learned to look away. Have you ever noticed a quiet child trying to tell you something without using any words? Tell me below. If you watched till the end, like and subscribe so you don't miss new stories. See you next time!